On January 6, 2021, a group of Trump supporters stormed U.S. Capitol. One officer and 4 rioters lost their lives on that day on Capitol Hill. But perhaps none are more controversial than the deaths of Ashley Babbitt, a middle-aged woman and a veteran who was fatally shot by a Capitol officer.
Then there was this woman, wrapped in a Trump flag, who was shot while trying to break into the Senate floor.
Main martyr of modern hard right is a middle-aged woman. Yet our discussion of the far-right terror concentrates on young white men, these teenage boys who are just so directionless that they get lost in the dark corners of 4chan and get converted into incels, Nazis, or, if completely unlucky, bronies. Meanwhile, the most prominent organized far-right group in the United States is comprised of moms. Typically tame and boring, modern suburban ladies are protesting over vaccines, banning books, and directing the government to repress healthcare and education. Isn't it weird that the front lines of the far-right groups that teach us that women's places at home with children are yet so feminine? Woman is supposed to get married, birth children, cook dinner, and then die once she can't fulfill her sacred duties. She aren't supposed to storm administrative buildings. There is no place for tradwives in riots. After all, it's proud boys, not proud couples. Well, if we put our expectation of tradwives aside, there are plenty of historical cases of women being on the front lines of far-right and nationalist movements. As in the past as today, we do not talk about women adopting nationalist agenda, because women, as we see them, do not fit into the Nazi box. Women who embrace hard-right movements contradict their own movement's view on womanhood. They defy roles they assign to themselves and defy roles assigned to them by their organizations. Whole presence of women on the far right does not fit our expectation of what a woman, a caring and peaceful creature, ought to represent in political sphere. So, of course, our conversation about radicalization circles around young men, those lone wolves who, I'm sure, are not related to each other in any way. Yet it is young and middle-aged women who take more and more active position on the front lines of reactionary movements. These ladies are not present on 4chan. They don't know who Pepe the Frog is. They don't find QAnon fascist memes cute. While it is true that far-right celebrities and their neo-nationalist ideas are universally popular across the gender landscape, the journey that makes one's mom a mom for liberty doesn't trace the path of stereotypical internet radicalization. Hi, welcome. I'm Anna, and today we will talk about your mother. How neo-nationalist propaganda enters playdates and wine parties. Who put transphobia into MINION memes? Should you firewall your Wi-Fi for your mother's own safety? In this video, we will explore why suburban moms join far-right movements. This video will contain light discussion of topics such as nationalism, terrorism, anti-LGBTQ agenda, and religious fundamentalism, but there won't be anything too wild. Also in this video, I am lumping together all reactionary movements that are currently on the rise within Western countries. In reality, the list of hate groups is really big and their causes are very diverse. Hate groups choose their own niches and compete with each other. They are not uniform. Transphobia, racism, religious fundamentalism, and conspiracy theories are one of the most typical elements that are present in modern hate groups in various proportions. But for the sake of simplicity, I will count all reactionary movements as one big pile. One big pile of shit. So let's step right in.
Because all of you are practicing the devil's law. What happened to Bill Gates? Why is he not in jail? Why is Hillary Clinton not in jail? Why are all of these pedophiles that are demanding you all to listen to their rules? Why are they not in jail? Oh, is it because you're part of them? Are you part of the deep state? The deep state is going down. And if any of you are in the deep state, you're going down with it.
Research in the intersectionality of neo-nationalism and gender is, to say the least, lacking. There is barely any academic literature that you can dig on modern Christian nationalism in the West, yet alone any that specifies on ideas of gender and role of women within these movements. That's of course despite the fact that the rising threat of far-right extremism has been identified as a threat worldwide. Neo-nationalists are throwing parades in major American and European cities, but questioning white nationalist movements will inevitably result in questioning many popular political and powerful figures. So we would rather just ignore domestic reactionary movements. Worst comes to worst, you can pretend that those are fads, undercover Antifa, or lizard people. So what I could scrape from the bottoms of the intersectional studies on gender and nationalism is this. 2020 survey on PRRI shows that despite what you might think, women are as likely as men to support ideas of right-wing nationalism. Though, in practice, Cambridge Journal 2016 showed that Republican men, especially members of the working class, were more likely to actively support nationalist views compared to women. In non-research field, QAnon rally organizer from 2020 interview with Rolling Stones identified that their QAmoms are one of the fastest growing populations within the movement. Academic research also highlighted QAnon as a gateway into far-right and the group that is the most successful in both attracting and deploying women. And that's it. The science part is over. We can remove the slime video off the screen now. Thank you. There is, of course, a presence of women on the far right in the form of right-wing celebrities. But I don't want to talk about them in this video or really in general, because I find them boring. Let's face it, rehearsing same 10 far-right arguments and same one joke is nothing but boredom. You can see this boredom in Brad Cooper's eyes. I am way more interested in people like Moms for Liberty, or movements like QAnon, or Save the Children, or Canadian March for Children. It always interested me how absolutely regular women end up on the front lines of active far-right and reactionary organizations, often without any deep knowledge of the final goals of the movements that they support. Mackenzie Ryan identifies women's radicalization path as a pipeline from mommy blogger to tradwife to book banner. She suggests that women find their way into nationalist movements through Twitter, Facebook bump pages, through church gatherings, through yoga classes, and alternative medicine circles. And of course, also multi-level marketing. These claims are largely supported by the scraps of existing academic literature. Radicalization of women uses a completely different approach compared to that of radicalization of men. Just like chocolate eggs and razor blades, nationalism also is a gendered product. Based on previously noted research from PRRI, there are 5 common beliefs shared across the nationalist scene in far-right movements in the West. They are racism, anti-immigration, anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim views, and a strong belief in the importance of traditionally binary gender norms. Strong adherence to traditional gender roles is universal across all types of extreme nationalism, from Nazi Germany to ISIS to modern evangelical Christians. While left-wing organizations try to view women as equal players within our movements, hard-right organizations view the role of a woman as completely different from that of a man, with minimal overlap. In their article on the role of women in far-right movements, Sari Jarvi and Siafaka write, "Inclusion of women demonstrates that the group represents society as a whole. Women can have a unique role in advancing far-right extremist ideology. Therefore, it is highly likely that far-right extremist groups will increasingly strive to radicalize women, and that the participation of women in far-right organizations will continue to grow. It is wrong to think that women are excluded from far-right movements due to, being women. Instead, their role in these movements is simply different. Ladies in the Western reactionary movements are in charge of making hard-right movements popular for normies and middle-class families. Not many people want to support bust and armed gravy seals of the hard right, at least not in the open. Story is different though when it comes to supporting middle-class women. Engendered ideas of nationalism. Function of a man is that of a warrior and of a hunter. His job is to attack the outsiders, protect the insiders, and beyond all, protect his kin, wife, and children. Role of a woman is different. Her role is to take care of children, to produce more men, and in their quest for building a traditional family, to normalize the nationalist ideas and integrate reactionary ideas into family culture. In their amazing book on QAnon movement, Pastels and Pedophiles, Bloom and Moskalenko write, QAnon movement has spread through yoga and mindfulness communities, a trend emblematic of QAnon broader efforts to appeal to traditional femininity. Its Save the Children rallying cry, for example, appeals to maternal instincts among would-be recruits. QAnon might have initially emerged from masculine spaces, but the movement only took off once it found fertile ground in feminine online spaces, like women's Facebook groups and Instagram. Inclusion of women is a cornerstone of success of far-right movements. Presence of women is necessary for reactionary ideas to turn mainstream. And surely there are plenty of strategies to recruit women into nationalist movements. Radicalization of women into far-right is not happening through manosphere podcasts or crap produced by intellectual dark web gurus. Instead, women are radicalized through groups and organizations that make emphasis on something that is the most dear to any parenting woman: her motherhood and her children. Facebook groups, Telegram channels, and educational newsletters become hosts of neo-nationalist marketing for young and middle-aged ladies. Title of the book, Pastels and Pedophiles, that I previously quoted, specifically refers to pastel aesthetics that was appropriated by QAnon movement to spread the message through woman-oriented internet groups. Pastel tones and fairy fonts are used to appeal to a feminine audience that already likes these aesthetics. Mommies-to-be, essential oil enthusiasts, and often liberally leaning hippie moms. So to understand how far-right appeals to ladies, I had no choice but to become a Facebook mom. And nothing screams motherhood more than Facebook mom groups. Long gone are the horrible days when you needed to wear oversized clothing of your older siblings. Today, Facebook Marketplace makes toddler clothing exchange a breeze, with whole packages of clothing and age-targeted toys exchanged for pennies. Baby supplies? It's there for you on Facebook. New mom tips in digestive format? Instagram got you covered. Also, almost always in pastel aesthetic. Little funny moments of motherhood and home care? Check out Twitter and TikTok. YouTube is not shy in any way, with dozens of niches of content for women and moms, from home care to homeschooling to wellness and more. And of course, a classic of your aunt's Facebook feed, MINION memes. Minion memes were appropriated by Zoomers and other horrible people. But Minion memes are a proud invention of the older generation on the internet. Moms like Minions because this is a piece of media that they can enjoy together with their children as well as with other parents. Minions just make so much sense as a platform for selling crap to both kids and their moms. Memes are a byproduct of the internet and are now a part of our modern culture. Memes are internet's way to reprocess events in real life. So of course, mothers and women in general use memes to reflect on womanhood and motherhood. Women-centered internet spaces create a variety of memes to explore challenges and joys of motherhood. Facebook memes get bad rap online, but while I was surfing Facebook's underbelly, I genuinely found a lot of this Facebook mom memes funny and relatable, despite not having children. Even in the reactionary groups, misinformation and reactionary posts are mixed with heartwarming, cute, and funny posts. Memes are a way to process experience, but are also a medium for spreading and sharing other forms of information, like information about vaccines or conspiracy theories. It is a way to cater reactionary ideas to the audience that is not internet literate enough to understand the undertext. After all, it is just an internet meme. It should be harmless, right? It's not like thousands of people can get radicalized by exposure to progressively more hateful and aggressive internet media. That definitely never happened. There is surprisingly a lot in common between Minions and Pepe the Frog when it comes to internet. Memes that are rooted in QAnon conspiracies find their place in law of attraction and wellness pages for women. More conventional groups are also affected. Toddler mom groups are infested with anti-vax and groomer conspiracies. Homeschooling and house care groups share anti-scientific and anti-queer agenda. Through small, unrelated articles and memes and jokes, women are exposed to progressively more reactionary ideas, in a similar way that men progress through Reddit, Gab, and 4chan boards on their own path to neo-nationalism. Endpoint of a woman's radicalization path is often the same. Fox News, InfoWars, Rumble, BitChute, and later private Telegram channels and locked Facebook groups that specialize in conspiracies and fear-mongering and will only accept you by invitation. And I won't pretend here that these women get radicalized completely unintentionally. Active engagement with content is required for algorithm to do its job and send user down the rabbit hole of conspiracies and far-right pages. Women in general are exposed to reactionary content in women's spaces, but not all engage with reactionary content, and definitely not all women end up absorbed into QAnon after liking a handful of questionable Facebook posts. Every step down, closer to the hard right, is ultimately a choice on behalf of each individual. Memes are not the reason women end up absorbed into reactionary movements. It is simply one of the ways reactionary movements reach out into normie spaces. But people that choose to go down the road of reactionary politics already agree with reactionary ideas before they even see these memes or funny pictures. Only difference between an active nationalist and somebody who quietly accepts ideas of nationalism is a community that validates their hate. Not much else. As a side note, I also love this meme-heavy Tradwife Facebook page that seems to be run by men but posts a lot of for-women propaganda, except a lot of the women that are presented in posts are Slavic. There is a popular trope in far-right circles where Slavic women are presented as typically more religious, more conservative, and feminine. Slavs are viewed as the last population of women, where one can find a tradwife that is white and beautiful enough for an average racist. And well, yes, for many reasons, women in Slavic countries tend to have a slightly different perspective on womanhood, but not in a way that this alpha males hope for. There is a reason why Eastern Europe has hundreds of monuments to armed women, yet these guys can't get the hint. But let's get back to mom groups. Women's spaces on the internet are definitely beneficial for participants of these groups. Things like toy and clothing exchanges create a space where women can buy and share both experiences and things. Women use parenting spaces to share tips and tricks to make their journey through parenthood easier and more fun. Of course, there were always spaces where women shared parenting tips, but internet opens opportunities for mothers who would historically find themselves excluded from family circles. Internet can connect women that experience infertility, disability, or mental health problems, single parents or large families, parents of neurodivergent or queer kids. Possibilities are endless. Facebook and other social media allow parents to form their own parental circles tailored to specific parenthood experiences. And hey, a lot of these groups are de-radicalizing women or provide a connection platform for women in an environment free of reactionary ideas. For example, homeschool groups tend to get bad representation, but there are plenty of homeschooling groups that base their platforms around science, secularism, and social justice. Homeschooling is not just for cult members and Christian fundamentalists. Homeschooling is something that parents often have to do because their child is sick, disabled, poorly adapts at school, or simply has no school within travel distance. These parents need resources too. And beyond all, social media provides spaces for women with the ability to organize. which is, of course, one of the main skills that women bring into reactionary spaces. Modern hard-right movements that recruit male activists are characterized by leaderless, decentralized network of isolated groups and unaffiliated actors. Such a decentralized structure is totally opposite of organization of modern female hard-right spaces. Reactionary groups that attract women are both organized and centralized. These groups have clear leadership, clear goals, and often attacked government and social structures through completely legal channels. All aspects of reactionary organization are gendered, not just recruitment. Everything from memes to active engagement in reactionary spaces is divided into male and female. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. This, of course, also applies to acts of terror. In her book, Woman, Nation, State, Nira Yuval Davis identifies 5 functions of woman within the nationalized state. One function is, of course, women's participation in social and political spaces. But women have quite a list of additional housework when it comes to forming a national and cultural identity, such as, of course, being biological producers of ethnic and national groups. Higher population of mothers of color with multiple children means that the next generation will have a higher proportion of people of color. Naturally, a solution to this complicated issue by the white state is to create conditions under which white families have access to more resources and build successful families for multiple children, like suburban nuclear family. Simultaneously, white state will destabilize families of ethnic minorities through segregation, redlining, and other policies. Such policies preserve the white ethnic outlook of the state for the decades to come. Another function of women is to represent collective national culture. Behavior of women distinguishes the in-group and out-group. Our women are proper women. Their women are perverted, incompetent, and rotten women. Women also signify boundaries between cultures. Women are often forced and encouraged to adapt to cultural norms that are placed on them by nation-state, patriarchy, and religion, because being bounded by one hierarchical structure would be just too easy. Women can shift between cultures, but men cannot. So women are expected to give up their own last name, their nationality, and culture to propagate children that match the outlook of their father and that of a nation-state. Lastly, women are the ones that form cultures, nationalities, and ethnicities. Women don't just birth children, they raise them too, which means it is a woman's job to raise a proper type of children for the particular nation. Ability and will to birth and raise children in compliance with reactionary group's identity is the main selection criteria that women need to pass to enter far-right spaces. There are many ways in which a white nationalist movement can grow, but the best, the most organic and reliable way is for selected and pure couples to have children, and to raise these children in accordance with ideas of the nationalist movement. So yeah, remember how I said that there is very little research into the role of women within far-right movements? Well, there is an exception. And this exception is radical Muslim organizations such as ISIS and Taliban. Because, there is a shade of difference between a concerned citizen and a terrorist. And for the sake of this video's survival on YouTube, I won't show you any of the things that we're going to talk about right now. So, at the very start, organizations like ISIS completely excluded an option for women's participation in organization. Women were recruited into Islamist groups, but were assigned to care for their husbands, to birth children, and to raise future warriors for the nationalist group. In direct translation from Islamic State's doctrine, a woman is a wife of a mujahid and a mother of lion cubs. Yes, Moms for Liberty brochure and New World Order revelations are not the only obnoxious texts that I had to read for this video. All the suffering just so you, yes, you, can leave thumbs up for this video. Eventually, ISIS took example from other radical groups in the region and included women in their action groups. Still, women would usually play isolated and strategic roles and were directed by the male leadership. Later in development of nationalist groups in the Middle East, women were used in women-only squads, patrolling streets, catching men hiding under women's veils to avoid military duty, or in more terrifying cases, as suicide bombers. Women who are not viewed as a threat can be strategically used by radical groups to perform terror attacks, which Islamist groups certainly did many times. Women also provide an illusion of inclusion and diversity within the movement, where at their peak, Islamist movements tried to create an impression that ISIS Caliphate was just another friendly and diverse Middle Eastern state, just as Islamic State. Proud Boys do not accept female members, and instead they encourage their male members to form traditional marriages, so their wives can support the cause indirectly by raising children within the white nationalist framework. But more importantly, in Western states, women are used by hard right to push for ideas that would simply not fly if the actions would be led by men in the movement. Imagine an organization that would send 5 to 10 adult white men to storm school board meetings across your country, threatening members and screaming that they want to ban books or that they want to inspect genitals of underage girls. But if the grassroots movement of middle-aged women is the one attacking school boards, then there is nothing to worry about. They are simply concerned mothers who are upset with administrative policies and want to keep their children safe. There is seemingly nothing threatening about the army of minivans and ladies with bob cuts, but a single click on Moms for Liberty website will take you to the New Discourse page. New Discourse is a nonprofit that is owned by a gentleman called James Lindsay, who is an active organizer in American nationalist movement. Lindsay is actively spreading a list of conspiracies such as cultural Marxism, groomer panic, and replacement theory. Moms for Liberty are inspired, sponsored, and organized by white supremacists. Yet, because these women do not look like characters from a movie about 90s street culture, they are treated as a group of relatable, concerned citizens, not as an organized, hard-right group that harasses educational and medical institutions. And it is not surprising that parenting and wellness circles become a fertile ground for development of conspiracies and hate. Childcare is very important to mothers of all ages and women in general. Men are recruited into far-right under a promise that they will have a chance to fight for fatherland and that they will get a proper woman partner through some sort of mythical alpha male distribution system. There is no way alpha male crap can attract any woman into the movement. If anything, alpha male content works as a repellent for women. Instead, women are attracted into the movement on the premise that hard-right groups will protect their children from threats of the outside world. Lorna Bracewell wrote in her essay for Sociology Frontiers in 2020. The QAnon movement ministers to anxiety caused by seeming failure to fulfill the assigned maternal role under COVID. QAnon triggers women by providing them entry into an alternative reality in which the coronavirus is a hoax and the real threat to their children's health and safety, the deep state cabal, is something they can actually do something about. Whether it is by collaborating with strangers in the QAnon-affiliated social media groups, dissecting latest Q-drop, or calling the National Human Trafficking Hotline to report that Wayfair is selling children in furniture, women engaged in the QAnon movement are able to assert their feminine identities as protectors of the innocent children. Current organizations that spread ideas of Christian nationalism in Western states propose a very clear picture of safety and security to women. These groups encourage women to give up their hustle in the corporate hellscape in exchange for a house in the quiet rural area, a family with many children, a husband that will cover her from all the life's challenges, and a community of women who share similar experiences. For women who feel excluded from modern society or are not happy with the cyberpunk reality of late capitalism, promise of an easy, traditional life may sound like a good idea. The trick is, of course, that this promise is simply an advertisement campaign. The reality of ultra-conservative families is far from the tradwife meme dream. It is often weaved with abuse of women and children. It is not uncommon for nationalist groups to deny children education and to deny women's access to healthcare and personal freedoms. Instead of escape from realities of capitalism, women in hard-right circles are faced with raw patriarchal rule. They are denied personal autonomy as well as authority over any aspect of their own life and life of their children. Years ago, Islamist organizations recruited women by playing to the feeling of exclusion that Muslim women and women of color feel in white Christian Western states. Today, in the same manner, Christian nationalists appeal to the feeling of exclusion that many women feel in modern world, where poor city planning and horrible economic prospects make motherhood and womanhood an unappreciated commodity. And here we may come to the point where we should ask why some women choose to join far-right movements while others do not. The sad reality of the world is that women, especially grown-up and independent women, end up in reactionary movements because they want to. Because these movements speak to their internal views and values. Women are often presumed to play a role of a victim or a martyr within social movement and political events, but this is a lie. Women have autonomy and opinions, and women join political and social organizations because we choose to. All of us are exposed to a lot of misleading, false, and hateful information. Not all of us decide to actively seek and engage with information on reactionary topics. I now have a folder full of racist and transphobic MINION memes, yet that does not compel me in any way to join a reactionary group. Consistent engagement with conspiracies and reactionary media, sharing and validation of the far-right ideas is a choice that anyone, especially adult women, are capable of. And surely, this is a choice many make. People who embrace far-right conspiracies and join hard-right movements eventually lose grip with reality. Conspiracies and hate start to affect their function in society and their personal life. Like any unwanted behaviors, hate and conspiracies break families, destroy careers, and ultimately destroy lives. Queer youth goes homeless, children break connections with their parents, people divorce and cut contacts. People lose their livelihoods because someone in their family fell down the rabbit hole of hate and would rather buy Alexis Jones vitamins than pay attention to the collapse of their own families. Actions of female-led reactionary groups have real effects on real people, where minority groups have to pay with their blood and their lives just so someone can continue living their fictional Christian housewife dream. And coincidentally, I had a conversation on similar topic of radicalization with my mom after I already started working on this video. And despite the risks of my mom falling down the rabbit hole being extremely low, I still sometimes worry for her and for other people at my work and in my family, because far-right rhetoric has been fully normalized and accepted into mainstream news cycles. You can read articles dead-naming trans people in Times. You can find YouTube videos platforming open anti-Semitism and eugenics. News outlets frame Christian fundamentalism and nationalism as another opinion and air interviews with far-right activists. There are cute little comics on Facebook portraying immigrant people as alien monsters and Reddit memes that openly suggest that queer people should undo themselves for everybody's benefit. In this sea of hate, educational campaigns advise users to evaluate online information and news through multiple steps of analysis, from author background checks to sponsorship evaluation to evaluation of our own personal biases. But really, who got time for that? People come on the internet to ha-ha at memes and connect with other people, not to write PhD in media literacy. My mom doesn't read political theory, and neither does yours. And this is fine. People in general have better things to do with their life than to read Capital. Sorry, Carl, but 1,150 pages? I do not think it is reasonable to expect anyone who casually uses internet for connection and entertainment to fact-check everything that they see. In my experience being a Facebook mom, on my absolutely authentic Facebook profile, women's internet spaces are not just infested with misinformation and hate. They also fall for satire, for bait memes and bait groups. They sincerely use ironic memes just as much, because people on these pages can't tell the difference. And I really don't know how we can prevent people from diving headfirst into hateful content when homeschool Facebook groups are only 2 clicks away from selling you textbooks from publishers that will teach your children that God hates fags. I personally have long-lasting interest in the architecture of hard right and authoritarian movements. Especially, I like stuff like posters, music, cinema, and other materials that exist on the border between creativity and propaganda. So while memes like this one may not be as artistic as an Aryan family painting from 1939, the lack of artistic style does not in any way affect the message of fascist nationalist pride. I know where this propaganda is coming from, and I know where it will take us, but I do not know how to stop it. Far-right materials that were only present on 4chan forums a decade ago are now shared in Facebook groups for normies like a blissful haha joke. In Canada, 1 in 10 teens miss their lunch daily. 20 people die every day from overdose, and bodies of Indigenous women are still laying in the landfill. Yet hundreds of regular people are on the street protesting school policies that have existed for over 2 decades and proven to be successful policies to reduce teen suicide rates. QAnon was laundered, sanitized from its Wayfair Pizzagate days, and is now fed to regular people in the form of another opinion and funny memes. And I don't know what to tell you, because I experience nothing but terror when I see regular middle-class folk marching together with religious fundamentalists, conspiracy theories, and neo-Nazis under the same banners. Despite all the supposing progress that technology gave us, once again, faced with social and economic challenges, we choose to hate on those who are different over building a better world for all. Despite my misery, we do have capacity to fight internet hate. We have enough tools already to control the narrative on the internet. In 2000, so the main recruitment into organizations like Islamic State was done through Twitter. And Islamists were fairly successful in their quest to recruit both women and men through social media. Well, none of the Islamist accounts, posters, or memes exist anymore. All of recruitment campaigns were completely erased from social media with very little trace. It will be impossible to stop the spread of reactionary ideas without active disagreement, exclusion, deplatforming, and other active forms of engagement with hateful content and those who spread it. This is not the channel where I'll tell you that all opinions are equally valid. Hate and reactionary fear are at best a garbage opinion and at worst an intentional propaganda. And they do not deserve equal representation. And I'm tired of the world pretending that racism, conspiracy theories, or homophobia are harmless or valid. Because they are not. They are harmful and wrong, and they have no place in women's spaces or anywhere else. Fortunately for us, women are fairly successful in scaling down reactionary movements as well by withdrawing their support. What women can do for far right, they can do 5 times better and more successfully when it comes to de-radicalization and re-education. Women play an important role in shaping the world and shaping future generations. And it is up to women to choose peace and prosperity over hate, which many women already do. So if you are a person who is currently recovering from participation in hate group, or if you are getting out of the conspiracy rabbit hole, first of all, thank you for watching that far. Remember that recovery and re-education process can be tricky, but it is worth it in the end. And if you are affected by somebody in your life who descended down the hard right path, know that you didn't cause their behavior. You can't control them, and you can only help them when and if they decide to help themselves. It is hard to see people dear to you descend into delusions. But know that you cannot help a person who does not want your help. But you can and you should take care of yourself. And you can support people who share your burden. Don't forget to take care. See you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe.